Hello, and welcome to Lovely English Stories. This story is written for advanced English learners. Ready? Let's get started. C1, C2 English Story. An Insular World. To be shy often feels akin to being locked in a cage with no escape. I frequently feel myself attempting to claw at the walls. I want to express myself but struggle to locate the words. My life can be quite an insular world. I hear noise all around me, a cacophony of sounds. People do have an awful lot to say, don't they? They chatter and whinge and whine, but they don't particularly say anything of substance. This could be the reason why I spent the majority of my teenage years with my head in a book. I got bullied for being a geek, for being bad at sport, and for always knowing the answers to even the most obscure questions. I was an easy target, the object of ridicule for many. It was awful, really. I despised school with every fibre of my being. Every moment of every day dragged. I couldn't wait to escape the clutches of the school corridors so I could move on and flourish in college. I remember my last day of school. I practically skipped out of the school gate swinging my bag around my head. Freedom at long last. No more vile classmates, no more backstabbing and name-calling. I could finally let my hair down and relax. I had a wonderful summer before I started at college. I dyed my hair a concoction of colours. I started listening to alternative rock music. And best of all, I started my first proper part-time job at a local bookshop. It was the first step to encourage me out of my hard-cased shell. The shop was part of a well-known chain store, and it had been my dream since I was 12 to get a Saturday job as a shelf stacker. I often used to chuckle to myself as I replenished the stock. I found it quite hilarious that I wasn't the geekiest one who worked there. And to think the bullies at my school thought I was the biggest nerd on earth. Just imagine how overjoyed they would have been if they had got a load of my workmates. I honestly dread to think. My job was nothing short of exquisite. I met some lifelong friends in that role. I had the opportunity to read and review various books of every genre, and I got to make cash which funded my love of gigs, books, and art. Finally, September arrived. College was the time I could show my true colours. I could let myself loose on the world. I met others like me. Others who wanted more than what was on their doorstep. My newfound friends urged me to continue learning and explore parts of myself I didn't know existed. They were patient with me when I wanted to hide away and blend into the background. They encouraged me to speak louder and pushed me to the front of the crowd. After years of trying to be invisible, I did, at times, find this incredibly hard to deal with, but I persevered. It was through them that my confidence began to grow. I was released from the shackles that 5 years of continuous bullying can cause, and I could be me. I would still regularly feel like I wanted to hide away in the library, but I pushed myself to do more with a variety of people. It wasn't all smooth sailing, of course. Sometimes I would hit a storm, especially if anyone made a derogatory comment or if I knew I was being a little pompous in my outlook, which, I must admit, I could be at times. I feel I must point out that I am not an oddball. I do have a plethora of friends who I find intellectually stimulating, not to mention downright fun. We enjoy deep conversations, and with them I talk about whatever existential crisis I'm having that day. We will often meet up in the pub and hash out whatever issues we are having at work or with family and friends, It's riveting. I feel incredibly lucky to have them all in my life. The problem is, when I do make friends who understand my initial shyness, I become someone else. The excitement of meeting like minded people often overwhelms me. I begin to think too much and listen too deeply. I will overplay conversations in my mind and wonder if I have said the right thing or whether someone might misconstrue something I have said. I am aware that this reaction is a result of years of people picking on me. I do hope one day it will ease and these concerns will lift like a low-lying mist. I know I'm repeating myself, but I do feel so unbelievably honoured to have the friends I have. I don't feel worthy of them. If my peers at school thought I was so abhorrent for years, why suddenly do I have so many friends? My parents, like my new chums, have tried to console me with the fact that my school bullies were just jealous of me, but I hardly think that's the case. After all, the majority of them were exceedingly attractive, extremely good at sports, and well liked. I, on the other hand, wore glasses, had braces, was terrible at sports, and excelled in science and mathematics. I mean, I was a sitting duck, wasn't I? When I did try to change my appearance or appear aloof in class, the bullying often got worse. My teachers and form tutor were aware of what was happening, of course. My parents were often in the head teacher's office discussing the latest atrocity that had happened. There was the chewing gum in my hair incident, the stealing my bag, the throwing my shoes on the school canteen roof. The list is endless. I did consider transferring schools to attempt to get some respite, but the only school that had any spare places was a trek away, and I figured it would be better to stay where I was. Better the devil you know and all that. I did have one friend at school. She was called Glennon. She was my knight in shining armour. She looked after me and, quite literally, fought some of my battles. She was strong, clever, and didn't stand for any nonsense. To say I was sad when I found out that she had decided to opt for a different college to me is an understatement. I was mortified. I always hoped she would be by my side and we could continue to be pals forever. However, she chose to study at a specialist agricultural college some miles away. She moved in with her auntie and began a new life. Good for her. She deserves every happiness in the world. Glennon is truly one of a kind. She is pursuing her dreams and going for what she really desires in life. That is what I always admired about her. We do still keep in touch, but I can feel we are drifting apart. Nevertheless, I will remain incredibly thankful to her for the rest of my days. She was my saviour at school. Who knows what I would have done without her? I dread to think. In comparison, my college days were some of the happiest of my life. To be free to be me was something I had never previously experienced. Little did I know a huge can of worms would open upon me attending university. Life became so vast and accepting that it was on the brink of being overwhelming. I was surrounded by countless new people with numerous new and exciting ideas. My shyness decided to make guest appearances when I least expected it, and, as a result, I would often slink away to my room for hours on end and immerse myself into music, films, and literature. Luckily, I have found my kindred spirit in my new-found friend Martha. As luck would have it, we had almost identical schedules. We found we clicked instantly. Martha also suffers from shyness, but she handles it better than I ever have. She has an ease in her demeanour that I could only ever wish for. Sometimes I feel like suffering from shyness is like having a chronic illness. It is constantly there, lingering in the background, ready to pounce at any given second. Shyness can be debilitating. I've lost count of the number of times I've been frozen to the spot, muted, unable to reciprocate in a conversation. It's incredibly frustrating for everyone involved. The most infuriating thing about it is that people think I am arrogant, as if. It's just that sometimes the words will simply not want to emerge from my mouth. I feel like someone has sewn my lips shut. I am about to graduate from university and must then enter the big wide world of work. I have studied incredibly hard not only to gain top grades, but to overcome my impending fear of interviews and assessment centres. I have gained a place on a prestigious graduate trainee scheme in another city. I would be lying if I said I wasn't full of apprehension, but life is here for us to learn lessons. I think my life lesson is to overcome my shyness and let the world see the true me. I am ready to take the bull by the horns and throw myself into the next challenge. I shall try to hold my head high and go full steam ahead, shyness or no shyness. We hope you enjoyed this lovely English story. Thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.